Oh, yeah. And we are live. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my kitchen here on this Super Bowl Sunday morning. Yay. It is 8 a.m. here on the East Coast in lovely New York, where the temperature is something like about 2 or 5 degrees below zero. So yes, we've been having the worst cold snap we've had in a few years, even though it doesn't compare to what the folks in the Midwest are going through. But it's enough. And here we are getting ready to, well, keep the house warm today by preparing a big pot of Boston baked beans for the Super Bowl tonight. And that's why I have to do this at 8 o'clock in the morning, because I have to get this thing in the oven by 9 a.m. at the latest. That way, these beans will be able to slow cook in the oven for the next 9 hours and be 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's right, 9 hours, especially so that they'll be ready to come out at 6 p.m. tonight. So yes, slow cooked beans are just that. They are slow cooked and they take a long time to cook. And so I had no choice but to schedule this video for 8 a.m. Sunday morning. But regardless, hello to the folks who are here. Good morning, Rocket Caver, and good morning, Pipgorn. And good morning, Sam Ostroff Cooks for Anyone. Good morning. You might still be in bed or maybe making breakfast or something, but that's perfectly fine. I mean, anybody who isn't here can always watch the replay later on. And besides, most of the prep work is done anyway. I'm just doing the last couple of things that I wanted to do, and so that I could do them live. And that is simply chopping up an onion and then chopping up some bacon, which won't take long at all, at which point then we get to play with our cast iron, which of course is the whole reason for doing this. I mean, actually, to be absolutely honest, I'm probably not even going to watch the game tonight. All my life, I have been a Patriots fan, but a casual Patriots fan. And actually, that's not even true. Not all my life. I became really a Patriots fan probably because of my brother, my younger brother, who has been a hardcore Pats fan since before the Tom Brady Belichick era. He was actually following the Pats during Drew Bledsoe's time, so he definitely knows what it's like to be a real fan and not just a fair weather fan who only follows the team when they're winning. As for me, it took me years really to understand football, in that football is just as much a strategy game as it is a game of big muscle guys hitting each other. So, but since then, I've certainly come to appreciate the game. And as such, I do, well, again, thanks to my brother, I've been following the Patriots. And besides, it gives a good excuse to cook. I mean, hey, the Pats are going to the Super Bowl once again. And yeah, that means I have an opportunity to once again celebrate that by cooking. And not just cooking, making what I consider to be one of my signature dishes. I mean, I've made a number of things since I've learned how to cook about 15 years ago. But I think one of the things that if I want to be remembered, it would be for several dishes, and this would be one of them, and that would be Boston baked beans. I grew up a born and bred New Englander. I grew up with Boston baked beans. And that certainly meant that when I learned to cook, I had to develop a baked bean recipe of my own. And I am very, very proud of how this recipe turned out. I tinkered with this recipe for years until it became what I've done. What we have today. And the recipe, of course, is available on my website, too, Cast Iron Chaos, plug. The folks who have been kind enough to try this recipe have pretty much universally said that it's really good. So I'm very flattered by that. Anyway, yes, good morning to everyone. I've made this recipe. Well, thank you very much, Rocket Caver. I was interested to see you were soaking beans at room temperature. I've been soaking mine in the fridge, not sure why. Room temperature is fine. Yes, exactly. The real difficulty is getting the beans to soften. And for that's the main reason why I don't soak them in the refrigerator. And of course, on the other hand, you don't want the beans to spoil either. And so really through trial and error, I discovered that a 12-hour soak on your countertop is just fine to get the beans soft into the right consistency. That's also the reason why I use a salt brine on my beans, which is one of those things. Hey, let's slice some bacon, shall we? Okay, but that is one of the things that I also learned from experience. Well, to be fair, I did my research too before trying it, but namely that, throw this out. There are a lot of urban legends around cooking, which is not really anybody's fault. I mean, after all, it's like I heard this since I was a kid, so this is the way I'm going to do it. And one of the things they say is that if you soak your beans in salt water, that will actually harden or toughen the beans, when in fact the opposite is true. The the salt in the water actually does break down the outer shell of the beans and gets them to the a good, nice, soft consistency. I tried doing that after a couple of times when the beans did not harden. After all that time, I had to resort to using canned beans. But since then, since I started using a salt brine, I've had like a 100% success rate in getting my beans to the right consistency. This morning, of course, we're going to find out if it's still 100%. But anyway, this right now, what I'm doing is just about all the prep work that's left, other than the cooking, that is. I've just cut up a pound of bacon and an onion. I prepared the Boston baked bean sauce yesterday, and I did a short video showing that. So let's get this out of the way. I'm done using my meat board, which means we can get down to having some fun. As I said, this is just a pound of bacon. I mean, the traditional recipe says to use salt pork, of course. But I mean, of course, everybody uses bacon. And for that matter, that's also why I have no problem using tomato paste in my baked bean sauce. New Englanders who know their stuff, and I certainly don't criticize them for that, have told me time and time again, you're not supposed to have tomato paste or tomato sauce in your baked bean sauce. However, I love it. I love it in my sauce. I mean, this essentially what we have here is pretty much the same as a barbecue sauce, and you can use it as a barbecue sauce, and I have used it as a barbecue sauce a few times. Whereas, you know, tomato paste or tomatoes are one of the bases in most barbecue sauces. And it works good. It helps to thicken the sauce and as well as add some flavor. Anyway, what else do we have here? Yeah, we'll be watching the Olympics. That's probably not a bad choice, Rocket Caver. That's for sure. Yay. And yes, hello. Yes, I can barbecue. Go Pats. Thank you very much. Definitely agree about football strategy. Good morning. I've made this. Well, thank you again, Calamity Jane. I'm glad everybody liked it too. Okay. Well, we've got the prep work done, which means actually I better put the cover back on this so I don't accidentally spill it. Not that I've ever done that before. So let's put this aside and break out the pork shoulder, which has been marinating in the fridge all night. And now now comes the reason why people watch this channel. We're going to get to play with some cast iron, and you all get to see if I mess up. Okay, but yeah, this is an 8-pound pork shoulder. I simply coated it with the bean sauce, and it's been, well, just that, marinating in the fridge, which means now it's time to move to the stove, where you folks have a good close-up view of a Birmingham Stove and Range number 12 Dutch oven. One of my prized possessions, although I'm actually kind of looking for a replacement for it, and I've told a story about that before. Yep, definitely, it's been preheating, so I definitely need this. And here we are. I'm also really, really glad that I re-seasoned it last week, which is why this thing is in good condition, if I may say so. Okay, nice iron. Well, thank you very much, Rocket Caver. Yeah, my number 12 Dutch oven. I really got this more for Boston baked beans than anything else, because I was making the beans in a number 10 size Dutch oven, and then, as it turned out, the beans would regularly overflow. So I actually made the effort to find a number 12. However, enough talking, I guess. Let me see. I guess I did forget one thing. A little bit of oil. But only a little bit. It's probably enough. Get this good and hot. And another nice thing about having this huge Dutch oven is that the high sides are going to reduce the splatter when this thing goes in. All right, so here we are. I tried to be as prepared as possible today. I even broke out the turkey lifters, especially so that I could get this into the pot. Let me turn it over. And do what we are about to do now. Careful, and oh! That's probably the most dangerous part of this recipe. And of course, if you make traditional Boston baked beans recipe, normally you don't use a huge pork shoulder. Yep. There we go. Gotta sear the meat and add some flavor. However, I have to save this for a moment because in a minute or so, this is going to come back out of this bowl, out and back into the bowl. All right. Preparation is overrated, says Mudbrooker. Yeah, says that. Tell that to the guy who was busy last week making chicken and waffles. All right. That's the stuff that dreams are made of. Yeah, best of all, this dream, I actually managed to find it at a decent price, too, at BJ's Wholesale, which is another reason why I decided to do this. I actually found these things, well, mostly on sale, so I'm quite happy about that. Of course, a lot of supermarkets have Super Bowl sales, too, you know, try to get you in to do your Super Bowl cooking, and not that there's anything bad about that. All right. And now from here, turn it over as best as I can. There we go. Little char never hurt anyone. And besides, this is going to be submerged in liquid and slow cooked for 9 hours. If there was any excuse to cook it in cast iron, you're looking at it now. Nothing, and I mean nothing, will make this pot of beans just like this. I know folks make it over the grill, but even when, or in their smoker, but even when they do that, they still need a cast iron pot, especially for cooking the beans. I've had a couple of people tell me that they simply put this in the smoker and put the beans underneath, on a rack underneath, so that the juices from the pork drip into the beans. Sounds good to me. Yeah, the turkey lifters, they are turkey lifters. They're not vintage. They're not even brand name. I think I got them at Ocean State Job Lot something like maybe 10 years or so ago. But hey, they work great. Yeah, in fact, like most turkey lifters, I believe they even had, I think they had rubber covers on the end, which of course came off. But whatever, they still do what they're supposed to do. Yes, hello, Matt Vern 6062. Yes, well, yes and no. I did reseason the South African Poiki. I have no intention of selling it. I'm very, very sorry. That is, well, I can say this about a lot of my pots in my kitchen, and that this is one of my favorites, but that is definitely one of my favorites. I love using that Poiki. I got it in 2012, so I've already had it for 13 and a half years. And again, you can do anything in that. You can make stews. You can make Boston baked beans in this, even with the pork shoulder in that one, that is, in the Poiki. But no, I'm afraid I'm not selling it. Every once in a while, you can get a decent price on Amazon. And what's more, if you get it on Amazon, you can get free shipping too. Yeah, Ocean State Job Lot is a great store. Yes, they are. I know they do discount stuff and off-brand stuff, but I have found a lot of good stuff there for my kitchen. If I remember right, my little scraper here, I believe I bought at Ocean State Job Lot way back in 2011 or so. Yeah, when I was first learning to cook and learning to stock my kitchen. And it's held up nicely. All right. Getting to that time, I guess. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll do this too. I mean, if we're going to do it, let's go all the way. Hey, look at that. Good morning, William Hurt. Can't stay long. Well, thank you for dropping by and saying hi. As you can see, we are having fun. We are searing up some meat in cast iron. It's one of the most fun things to do with cast iron. Do one more side. Also, I can promise everyone this is not going to be an hour and a half video. Although I don't mind doing something like this to kind of extend the length and I guess make it worth watching. Of course, this came from BJ's Wholesale. Who knows what kind of quality this is, to be honest. Given a choice, I would have rather gotten this at a local butcher, or even better, a Hispanic or Spanish market. Any Smithy, our Smithy or FBG worth the money? Oh, well, that's getting into the argument of cheap cast iron versus expensive cast iron. Folks who actually make the expense and get a fancy cast iron pan like Smithy or Yeti or Finex, they almost always say yes. Of course, the thing is affording it. But again, that is a long-running debate that is probably never going to be settled. I mean, they're cast iron. You will love it pretty much. Yeah, well, if that's the case, why not just get a Lodge or a vintage Griswold? There is that argument, and I can't disagree with that argument. However, I think we're about ready here. Alright, so let's put this thing back in carefully. Okay, got it. Yay. The other fun part is going to be getting this thing back in the pot, but we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. On the other hand, let's burn some more meat, shall we? Yeah, as if that pork shoulder isn't enough. But this is actually more of the traditional recipe for Boston baked beans. I said this just a few minutes ago, namely that the traditional recipe for Boston baked beans calls for salt pork. And of course, you can certainly use salt pork. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with using pretty much any kind of meat you want, such as bacon. I have friends who don't eat pork anyway, and when I make Boston baked beans for them, I have to substitute. Which again is also the reason why I don't have a problem with using tomato paste in my Boston baked bean sauce. It may not be traditional, but it works. Most importantly, it does not change or hide the flavor of the beans. The real secret ingredient in my recipe, my secret recipe, so secret that I put it on the internet for everybody to see. The real secret ingredient in my recipe for Boston baked beans is ground cloves. It adds a little, just a touch of savory sweetness to the beans. And it's one of the reasons why this is a recipe I'm proud of. We don't even have to completely crisp these things, because again, this is all going to slow cook for the next 9 hours. This isn't taking long to cook either. Boy, I'm sure this. I didn't even check the temperature, but I have no doubt this Dutch oven is good and hot, and I'm liking that. All right. Yes. Have a good day, Matt Vern Million. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for saying hi. Thank you to everybody who's been kind enough to drop by this morning. I mean, I realize 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning is usually not a good time for going live on YouTube. But again, I didn't have any choice, especially because I have to get this in the oven by 9 a.m. at the latest. But since it's 9 a.m. at the latest, as you can see, we have plenty of time. I'm going to be ahead of schedule, which is good. Yes, I can. I have the same size Dutch oven. Well, congratulations. And those of you, everybody, who have at least one really big cast iron pot, you will know that having one big cast iron pan is really, really, really useful. You wouldn't think that you'd get a lot of use out of one of these things, but you do. You get a ton of use out of it, and I highly recommend to everybody that if you have the opportunity to get at least one really big cast iron pan, whether it's a skillet or a Dutch oven or something, do so, because you will be amazed at the amount of use you will get out of that. I mean, besides Boston baked beans, I've made jambalaya in this. I've made stews. I've done whole roast chickens 2 at a time. So yes, I really enjoy having a big Dutch oven. Okay. Next and last, in fact, let us soften these onions. And then after this, it'll be time for the beans. It won't take long to soften these onions in all of this grease. Okay. I wouldn't have thought of cloves in baked beans. My odd secret ingredient is cinnamon. It's surprisingly good with ground beef dishes. Oh, I don't doubt it. That actually sounds good. I got the idea for ground cloves when researching the recipe for Boston baked beans, because speaking of not being traditional, there are a lot of Boston baked bean recipes out there that say to throw a whole bunch of ketchup and mustard into it. And I did not want to do that. It is not the right flavor. It does not give the beans the really, really special flavor that you get. On the other hand, I researched the ingredients for ketchup, and I think that's where I got the idea of using tomato paste. But one recipe in just about every decent bottle of ketchup is, in fact, cloves. And furthermore, part two, one thing that a lot of people do use in their baked bean recipe is Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce, of course, if you look up the ingredients, they do have anchovies and other things in it. But one of the ingredients in Lee and Perrin's Worcestershire sauce is, guess what? Cloves. So from those two things, I got the idea of using ground cloves in my bean recipe. And I really, really like it. That's why I consider it the secret ingredient. All right. Cloves and cinnamon are not that far apart. This is true, but there is a bit of a difference. Maybe that's why people love cinnamon and some people tend to hesitate with cloves, because it's not quite the same. On the other hand, cloves are one of those things that I've definitely developed a taste for over the years. That and molasses. I mean, molasses, as you know, has kind of like a savory sweet flavor. There's a bit of a bitterness in molasses besides the sweetness. And I think that's why I didn't like it at first. However, over the years, again, I've developed a taste for it to the point where when I'm pouring my molasses, and of course you've got to wipe off the extra residue, I do tend to, lick my fingers. Why not? Everybody else does. All right. Having done that, I can turn this down or maybe even turn it off because, I've done what I needed to do here. I think I'll just keep it on a low heat because here comes the next step. And that is the beans. Okay, so head over to the sink. One disadvantage of using a saltwater brine. I mean, I had said before that using a saltwater brine really helps to soften the beans. The disadvantage of a saltwater brine is you can't reuse the bean water. It's too salty. So you do actually have to substitute fresh water or broth. This time I got some vegetable broth to use in the beans. Although a lot of people just use chicken broth, and again, absolutely nothing wrong with that. But here are the beans, 2 pounds of soaked Great Northern beans that have had soaking in the saltwater brine for about 12 hours. I think right now we're going on 13. All right. Put this to the side again. Getting rid of the salt. Because as somebody pointed out in the comments in one of the short videos, there's a lot of salt in this. All right, that helps. And there we are. So, back to the pot. Center this, of course. There we go. In go the beans. That's why I'm using a slotted spatula. Okay, these beans feel like they have the right consistency, so I would have to say once again to recommend the saltwater brine. It does a great job softening the beans. And now that we've done that, the rest is we are almost ready. Okay, I actually use a Chinese 5-spice when making a ham glaze. It has clove, ginger, cinnamon, anise, and star anise. I'm sure it'd be excellent in beans. Go ahead and try it. I mean, I really love hearing when people try new things. So I'd say go ahead and give it a try and see how it turns out. Speaking of which, here it is once again, the Boston baked bean sauce from my recipe, which I've said enough times that I'm very proud of. Check out my recipe, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy what we're doing today. All right, I'm going to save a little bit of this because I'm going to put the rest of this scraping over the top of the pork when it goes in the pot. Just like a kid licking the spatula. Yeah. That's what I mean. There's a lot of sugar in this recipe. Yes, I've had folks from Texas saying that I'm making bean candy because there's so much the molasses and the brown sugar. But what can I say? That's the taste that I want, and that's the taste that everyone seems to enjoy. On top of everything else, I have two kinds of sugars in my recipe, brown sugar and white sugar. The reason why for that also comes from the ingredients when I researched this. The brown sugar is definitely to mix in with the molasses and add flavor. The white sugar, on the other hand, I have in the recipe, especially to react to the vinegar when it's added. That's why there are equal amounts, I think 3 tablespoons of white sugar and apple cider vinegar. And yes, you can use white vinegar too. I grew up with apple cider vinegar, that's why. All right. So far, so good. 2 pounds of soaked beans. And now, all we got to do is add some liquid. As I said, this time I got vegetable broth or vegetable stock. But again, you could just use water, or you can use chicken broth, or I suppose beef broth, though I haven't tried beef broth in this yet. However, despite this huge amount of stuff in the pot, as you can see, 1 4-cup container of this stock looks just about right because it just barely covers the beans. So yeah, this is not doing too badly at all. Okay. It explains why you call it cast iron chaos, says somebody on YouTube. All right. And with that, we're almost done because all we got to do now is get this in. Get out these turkey lifters one last time. Oh yeah, better turn off the heat now so I don't forget. Did I just get these turkey lifters stuck? There it goes. All right, one last time. Try not to drop it now, otherwise I'll spill it all over the place. Come on. Come on, not now. There we go. I think we got it. All right. Okay. Plop. Settle it down. Boy, I could probably get kicked off of YouTube if I'm not careful doing this. Finally, as I said, let us put the last bit of the sauce over the top. And here is the main reason why I am so glad I got a huge number 12 size Dutch oven and lid. As you can see, all of these beans and liquid and this big pork shoulder and everything, there's going to be no problem at all covering it with the lid. Which is exactly what we're doing right now. Okay. And having done that, now comes the last dangerous part. Lifting this heavy pot. All right. Which also means we'll have to pull the camera back. Cord here is from the microphone. Move the microphone a little closer now, so that way you'll get to hear my struggles. And with that, no time. Good. It's warm, maybe even hot, but not hot enough to burn me. So here we go. I got a spillover tray in there. I'm using an aluminum tray in case the pot overflows. 2. A 3. There we go. Did it. There we are. Boston baked beans are in the oven. The oven is heated to 260 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know. It's maybe because it's so big and heavy and thick. I got the idea of instead of going 250, I would do 260, and it's worked. So that's what we use. All right. Yeah, here comes Iron Man. Yeah, tell me about it. It's like, I am inevitable, and I am Iron Man. Okay. And now that we've done that, we can end this, but if you folks will be kind enough to hold on for just a few minutes, I've got one other thing I would like to do. And that is prepare my own supper. Namely, some beef. Here it is. Because once again, Price Chopper had a buy one, get one free on what they call top round London broil. They actually did choose the cut of meat as well as London broil. That's nice of them. So yeah, that means I can get this, and I'll make this for supper tonight. I mean, again, I'm still on this carnivore diet, so as much as I wish I could have some of those beans, I really can't. So instead, I'm just going to have to settle for some London broil. What a shame. Okay. This will only take a couple of minutes, folks, and then we'll be all done. But I mean, while I'm here, I figured I'd better get started on this. Well, this is interesting. This is pretty much splitting apart. So this is top round, which is one of the toughest cuts of meat on the from the butcher, which means I guess I should say this. I mean, over the past month or so, a couple of times I have made a chuck roast, and I just simply did it this way. I just simply treated it like a steak and cooked the chuck roast in cast iron to medium rare, and I loved it. Oh man, was that flavorful. That was so good. Everybody kept saying that by doing it that way, that chuck roast would be nothing more than a chewing exercise. And I will admit, chuck cooked to medium rare is a little more chewy than something like a ribeye. There's no way around that, but it's not too chewy. I had no problem at all eating that. I've done that more than once already, and I love doing a chuck roast like that. Top round, not so much. If I do it this way and just simply cook it to medium rare, it will be a chewing exercise. And the flavor of top round is really not anywhere close to what you would get from chuck. I love chuck. Oh, again, it's as good as like say ribeye or the like. Top round though, on the other hand, definitely need to marinate it. So oh, yeah, I better break a couple of things out. Oh, and if folks want to leave at this point, you can certainly do so. I mean, we've done what we wanted to do. And I'm going to get out this and this. I'm really just doing this to kill time at this point, and I freely admit it. Okay, get some heavy boots of lead. Shit. And maybe I should travel through time too. Anyway, I've had the idea. I still like dry brining my meat first because I've had really good results with that. So I'm just going to do it this way. Put in some Worcestershire sauce, which has vinegar in it. Probably pat it dry anyway. Well, not dry, but pat it a little bit. And now sprinkle on the kosher salt. And then we will flip this and do the same thing to the other side. And this is really all I'm doing before ending this video. Don't worry, folks. I appreciate everybody kind enough to stick around. So I'm hoping that doing it this way will add a little bit of flavor to this top round. And of course, there is only one Worcestershire sauce, and that is Lea & Perrins. There is no other Worcestershire sauce. Nothing compares. They did not pay me to say that. Maybe a light pat to get... Well, actually, since I'm on this side, I think I'll just leave it as is. And once again, on with the kosher salt, which is going to dissolve in this extra liquid, but that's why I'm going to be just simply letting it rest in the fridge for several hours. Then we will do this tonight and see how this turns out. There we are. Yay. So this is going to be my supper. The worst that can happen is it might be too salty. Hopefully not, but that's what I'm about to find out. All right, what's for breakfast? Yeah, good point. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a couple of eggs or something. Okay, but yeah, you can head out, William Hurd, and have a good day because we're about done anyway. All I have to do now is get this thing in the fridge, and we are done. Come on, here we are. Oh, don't you just love it when I do that? Okay. In we go to let this rest. And with that, we are done. The Boston baked beans are in the oven, where they will come out probably by about 6 p.m. tonight. And man, am I ever looking forward to that. Even though I can't have any, even though I'm serving them to family and friends. But here we are. And I can only hope that everybody else has some good cooking planned for today. Whether or not you care about the Super Bowl, any excuse to cook is a good excuse. It's Sunday. It is frigid. I mean, I'm stuck inside, although I am going to have to go out and just shovel the rest of the snow off of my back porch. Um, but other than that, I really can just relax today, and which is what I intend to do as we wait for these beans to finish. So thank you to everybody who has been kind enough to show up this morning. As I said, we are all set now. I'm going to be calling this. I mean, it's only been 45 minutes. See, I promised that it would not take an hour and a half. And yet we've accomplished quite a bit, and I'm very happy with that. And what's more, there were no mishaps. Thank goodness. And well, we can always see what will happen this Wednesday because there's always another live video coming. Be eager to hear how the London broil turns out. So am I. I'm curious as well. Because what I don't want is for this to be a chewing exercise. I may have to end up braising this, in fact, for especially for that reason. But nonetheless, as I said, we've got our beans to reveal tonight, and I'm looking forward to that. So thank you once again to everybody who's been here this morning. The Mudbrooker and Calamity Jane. Would fill his viewers full of that would fill his viewers full of dread. Yes. And Rocket Caver, William Hurd, and Pip Gorn, Sam Ostroff, and everybody, of course, watching the replay of this. Please feel free to comment as well. As I said, I'm really proud of this recipe, and I encourage everybody to give it a try at some point because, well, I honestly think Boston baked beans are probably the best baked beans in the world, even if I am a little biased. But yes, thank you. And thank you very much again, Calamity Jane. Looking forward to the baked bean reveal. Me too. So everybody can just relax now. If you're going back to bed, feel free to do so. Or if you're doing church or whatever you do on Sundays, go out and have fun, although it's really cold, so be careful. And with that, I will bid everybody good morning. And we will see you later tonight. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good morning.